day, everyone. This is chapter 20 of Hydrology, Modeling Regional Groundwater System. I am Justin Jane Di Mayuga. Together with Lateral Kali, we will be tackling about modeling regional groundwater system. Prologue. The purpose of this study chapter is to describe the features of large-scale groundwater system, introduce the principle of the finite difference approaches to modeling regional groundwater system, illustrate the application of groundwater modeling techniques to the Upper Big Blue Basin in Nebraska. So here are the parts. 20.1 is regional groundwater models, 20.2 finite difference methods, 20.3 finite element methods, 20.4 mode application, and 20.5 groundwater quality methods. Let's start with 20.1 regional groundwater models. Regional groundwater models. Groundwater system models may be of the analog or the digital mathematic variety. The focus of this chapter is on the digital type of model, the type most commonly employed today. Such models are characterized by a set of equations representing the physical process occurring in an aquifer. These models may be deterministic or probabilistic in nature, but only deterministic models are discussed here. Figure 20.1 characterizes the procedure for developing a deterministic mathematical models. A conceptual model is formulated based on a knowledge of the characteristic of the region and an understanding of the mathematical mechanics of groundwater flow. Conditions of continuity and conservation of momentum, usually described by Darcy's law, are incorporated in the model. So we can see in the figure 20.1 the conceptual model, the mathematical model, analytical model, and numerical model. In under analytical model is simplify equation so that solution may be obtained by analytical methods. Next is the numerical models, approximate equation numerically resulting in a matrix equation that may be solved in a computer. So in figure 20.1, typical use relation are Fick's law for chemical diffusion and Fowler's law of heat transport. Ordinarily, this is achieved through the use of numerical methods such as finite difference or finite elements to represent the applicable partial differential equation. Modeling this type find wide application in the estimation of site-specific aquifer behavior. So in figure 20.2, are the types of groundwater models and their applications. In figure 20.3 are the number of steps must be followed in modeling a target groundwater region, and it is illustrative. So the first step is to define boundaries. Next is the region is divided into discrete elements by superimposing a rectangular or polygonal grid like this. Once the grid is determined, the control aquifer parameters and the initial condition are set for each grid element. If solute transport is included in the model, additional parameters such as hydrodynamic dispersion properties must also be specified. Upon completion of the model's calibration, it can be applied to analyze a variety of management and development options. The model's prediction of the outcome of this alternative strategy can be a valuable aid to decision-making process. 2.2 Finite difference method. Digital simulation requires an adequate mathematical description of the physical process to be modeled. For groundwater flow, this description consists of partial differential equation and accompanying boundary and initial condition. So the governing equation is integrate to produce a solution that keeps the water level a head associated with with the aquifer being studied at selected points in space and time. The finite difference method is based on the subdivision of an aquifer into a grid and the analysis of flow associated with zones of the aquifer. So the equation must be solved is derived from continuity consideration and Darcy's law for groundwater notion. This yields the following partial differential equation, describing flow through a really extensive aquifer. Note that the equation represented here describes the two-dimensional case. You can see the equation here where H is equal to total hydraulic head, X is X direction in Cartesian coordinate system, Y is direction in an Cartesian coordinate system, S is specific yield of the aquifer, dimensionless, T is transmissivity of the aquifer, L squared over T. W is source and sink term, L over T. Next is time step and element dimension. The success of any finite difference scheme depends on the incremental values assigned the element dimension and the time steps in general. The smaller the dimensions of the elements and time increments, the closer the finite difference approximation to the differential equation. However, as these partitions are made smaller, a price and computational cost and data needs must be paid. Furthermore, over-subdivision may even bring about computational intractability. Thus, the object is to select the degree of definition that results in an adequate representation of the system while keeping the data computational cost at a minimum. There are procedures for making such selection, but except for brief discussion in the following section, they are not presented here. Next is one-dimensional flow method. To illustrate the finite difference approach to groundwater problem solving, a one-dimensional conceptualization is discussed. Although most practical scale models are two or three-dimensional in character, their development is only an extension of the one-dimensional case. For details of some of more complex models, the reader should consult the appropriate reference. The book by McWhorter and Tsunada is easy to read and includes excellent example problems. So, one-dimensional flow model is groundwater system simplifies the complex three-dimensional groundwater movement into a single direction, usually along the x-axis. This approach assumes homogeneous and isotropic conditions where properties like hydraulic conductivity and specific storage are uniform throughout and flow follows Darcy's law. You can see the equation. The finite difference method discretizes the domain into nodes and approximates differential equation with different equations, solving them iteratively. Next is 20.3 finite element methods will be discussed by Latrell Galing.
Good day to everyone. My name is Latrell P. Galing, and for this chapter, tatalakayin natin yung 20.3, which is finite element method. Finite element methods, the most widely used numerical techniques for solving groundwater flow problems, are the finite differences method in that both approaches lead to a set of n equations in which n unknowns that can be solved by relaxation. The size and shape of the elements selected are arbitrary. They differ from the regular rectangular grid elements used in infinite difference modeling. Infinite element methods, nodes serve as the corner points of irregular meshes in 2D and bricks of tetrahedrons in 3D. Element size and shapes are flexible and tailored to specific applications. Unlike the rigid grid elements in finite difference modeling, smaller elements are used near flow points like wells. Aquifer parameters can vary between elements. Minimizing the variational function involves evaluating partial derivatives and solving resulting algebraic equations through iteration or matrix methods. Understanding partial differential equations and calculus of variation is crucial for finite element modelers. The finite element approach offers some advantages over the finite difference technique. The finite element approach can be used to simulate transient aquifer performance. The finite element method offers advantages over finite difference, requiring a smaller nodal grid and allowing for handling of multiple anisotropic formations with different principal directions. It is suitable for simulating transient aquifer performance. Further details on the finite element technique can be found in additional reference for those interested. So next is 20.4, which is model applications. The use of groundwater for irrigation in the Upper Big Blue Basin was observed rapidly increasing, and by 1972, about 3.3 wells per square mile were in operation. The University of Nebraska designed a model to evaluate the situation and to explore various proposals for recharging the aquifer and for estimating the long-term consequences of several scenarios of water use in the basin. In this figure 20.10, which can be shown on the lower right side of the presentation, shows the configuration of the water table as observed in 1953. For modeling purposes, the water level contours shown were considered to be representative of pre-development conditions. The water table in the area was free with water level contours from 1953, used as pre-development conditions in modeling. The contours were believed to reflect a balanced water table due to limited historical groundwater withdrawals. Transmissivities estimated from drill hole samples are crucial for modeling and determining well yields. The model was operated over the period 1953 to 1972, using the known distribution of wells and the average net pumpage per well to establish a match between observed and estimated water level changes. Once this was accomplished, the simulation of future trends proceeded. Figures 20.11 and 20.12 show the correspondence achieved in the matching process. Ito po yung mga figure na yan. This is 20.11 and this is 20.12. Next chapter is 20.5, which is groundwater quality models. Groundwater quality models has become a major source of concern in recent years. This has come about from the realization that many groundwater sources that were at one time considered almost pristine have now been degraded in quality by seepages from dump, leakage from industrial waste holding ponds, and by other waste disposal and/or industrial agricultural practices. In 1974, Gelhar and Wilson developed a lump parameter model for dealing with water quality in a stream aquifer system. The nomenclature and conceptualization of their model are shown in figure 20.14. Yung figure 20.14 is yung figure na makikita nyo sa left side. The GW model assumes that dispersion is negligible. This assumption may be made on the basis that the object of the model is to estimate regional average concentrations. There is a growing focus on developing quantitative techniques to understand groundwater quality mechanics. Though not as advanced as surface water models, groundwater quality modeling is a complex and evolving field crucial for water quality management. The book does not delve deeply into this topic due to its complexity, emphasizing the significance of groundwater quality modeling. The use of lump parameter approach is favored for long-term groundwater quality changes, prioritizing temporal over spatial variations. So, yung sa figure na nasa left, yung letter C dyan na makikita nyo sa may reservoir, yung concentration. While yung Cl naman is concentration of natural charge. And next yung Cy is concentration of the artificial recharge. And yung isa pang C is a first order rate constant for degradation of the contaminant. The model determines hydraulic and solute response times, measuring the lag in water and constituent movement. Gellar and Wilson likened the aquifer response to a well-mixed linear reservoir. Their studies confirms that the model accurately represents the average constituent concentration leaving the aquifer. That's all po. Thank you.